Albert Fish is one of the most chilling and disturbing figures in the history of American crime. Known as the Gray Man, the Brooklyn Vampire, and the Boogeyman, his story is one of unimaginable horror, involving acts of violence and depravity that shocked the nation in the early 20th century. Stay with us as we delve into the terrifying case of Albert Fish and explore the dark, twisted mind behind his gruesome crimes. Albert Fish was born in 1870 as Hamilton Howard Fish. His childhood was marked by tragedy and instability. His father died when he was just 5 years old, and his mother, unable to care for him, placed him in an orphanage. It was in this orphanage that Fish first experienced severe physical abuse, which he later claimed sparked his fascination with pain and sadism. By the time he reached adulthood, Fish had developed a deeply disturbed psyche, filled with bizarre sexual fantasies and violent impulses. Throughout the 1920s and 1930s, Fish began to target young children, using his harmless appearance to his advantage. He would pose as a friendly figure, often presenting himself as a grandfatherly type to lure children away from their homes or playgrounds. Once he had them alone, his true nature would emerge. Fish committed acts of extreme violence, preying on the most vulnerable members of society in ways that were almost beyond comprehension. One of the most infamous cases involving Fish was the kidnapping and murder of 10-year-old Grace Budd in 1928. Fish saw an advertisement in the newspaper placed by Edward Budd, Grace's older brother, who was looking for work on a farm. Fish, posing as a wealthy farmer named Frank Howard, visited the Budd family under the pretense of hiring Edward. However, he became fixated on Grace instead. Over time, he gained the trust of Grace's parents, convincing them to let her accompany him to a supposed birthday party for his niece. Grace left with Fish that day, never to return. For years, Grace's fate was unknown, and her disappearance remained a mystery that tormented her family. Then in 1934, 6 years after she went missing, the Budd family received a terrifying letter from Fish. In the letter, he confessed to abducting Grace, describing in graphic detail how he had taken her to a secluded house, tortured her, and ultimately killed her. He also revealed that he had cannibalized parts of her body. The letter was filled with such horrifying and disturbing content that it horrified everyone who read it. The letter was traced back to Fish through the use of forensic techniques, and he was soon arrested. During his arrest and interrogations, Fish calmly confessed to the murder of Grace Budd and several others, offering chilling details without showing any remorse. His confessions revealed the full extent of his depravity. He talked about his fixation on cannibalism, his use of needles to inflict pain on himself, and his obsession with hurting others. Fish claimed to have killed many children across several states, though not all of his confessions could be verified. Fish's trial for the murder of Grace Budd began in March 1935. The trial quickly became a national sensation, with the courtroom packed with people eager to hear the details of his horrific crimes. The defense tried to argue that Fish was insane, presenting evidence of his bizarre behavior, delusions, and self-mutilation, including his habit of inserting needles into his body, which were later found lodged in his pelvis through X-rays. Fish himself openly talked about his fantasies and actions, seeming to relish the attention. Despite the defense's efforts to portray him as insane, the jury found Fish guilty of first-degree murder, rejecting the insanity plea. He was sentenced to death by electrocution. On January 16, 1936, Albert Fish was executed at Sing Sing Prison in New York. Even in his final moments, he remained calm and almost indifferent, reportedly saying that his execution would be the supreme thrill. Thank you for watching. If you found this video informative, leave a like and subscribe so you don't miss our next videos.